all these rejections from the middle Bollinger Band.
Resistance we're going to need.
If you actually see here, we get a
And we'll look for a healthy higher
I
low.
would not
don't have
be
the
convinced
bullback
to
across
enter
the
long
trend.
trade.
Hey crypto friends, hope you're doing well this Sunday. We're going to be looking at some altcoins as voted on by members. I usually do this live, but it's Sunday, fun day, feast day, and I got some things that I would rather be doing. So we got Bitcoin, Ethereum, BCH, NEO, IoT, EOS, ONT, ICX, BNB, and XRP. We'll take a look at all of those. But first things first, little disappointed in the viewer base. I expected a couple people to be confused about the Pink Floyd comment and sarcasm, but a couple dozen is pushing it. And I would hope at this point that you would think I would have a little bit more intelligence to think that Pink Floyd was a one-hit wonder band. But we'll move on from that, and I'll chalk it up to some dry humor that I have to be more cautious about, unfortunately. But if I say something that is blatantly false, it probably means I'm being sarcastic. So checking in on Bitcoin, the weekly reversal candlestick is looking nice. People keep talking about the declining volume, which is normal. People are saying, shouldn't the bulls have increasing volume? Not really. For an equilibrium pattern, that's not what I would expect. And look at the volume here over the past couple of months. It's continually dropping off, and this is the Coinbase chart, and we know that volume is a little bit sketchy, but if you go and look at Bitfinex or anywhere else, you're going to see the declining volume there as well. And again, that's normal. I'm anticipating declining volume, declining volatility, and trading opportunity over the next month while this pattern continues to tighten. And it's now looking to me like July is going to see the break. But again, news could absolutely accelerate that in whatever direction. So people keep asking me for what my percentage is on which direction we're going to break. We are still much closer to a bear break than a bull break. And right now, if we see a little bit more follow through into the 8,000 range, then our very clear higher low will be 7,058. So right now we're 10% away essentially from a bear break, and we are 30% away from a bull break. So have to favor the bears as long as we're that much closer to a bear break than to a bull break. My gut wants to favor a bull break. Psychologically and rationally, I've given reasons in the past few weeks as to why I feel the fundamentals would point to a bull move and why participants in this market would favor a bull move. But I'm staying unbiased as much as I can and using technical analysis and just patiently waiting because I don't need to place that bet right now. I'm going to place the bet once I am more confident or once we see a clear break of this pattern. So the daily time frame, nice further follow through today. And we still haven't consolidated to form a daily higher low. And I say that because every single day, again, is still higher lows at this point. We have to pull back, lose the strong uptrend, set a clear daily higher low, and then see continuation to change the trend. So every single day has been a higher low at this point for 5 days in a row, and the bulls are still keeping some control. Volume's just fine for the bulls. It's not, screaming and saying that the bulls are in full control and there's a ton of strength behind the move, but it doesn't really have to at this point. They clearly have control in the short term, and the question is, can we form the daily higher low and higher high, get over these exponential resistances, and see them follow through with a bull cross? The last time that happened, after the bull cross took place, the bulls ended up seeing another about $1,800 to the upside. So that's what we're looking for at this point. The bull MACD cross did get some follow through. The 4-hour higher low pattern is still in play, and we're bouncing off exponential support. I would say the most recent, we have a couple levels to be watching. Right now, I'm looking at 7,570, and then we have another higher low trying to form here. Again, both off the exponential 12 period on the 4-hour, and 7,650 is that support level. Resistance the bulls need to break is 7,777. Then we're looking at some psychological resistances because the next price resistance is 7,939. So 7,800 would come first. But it's a similar pattern to the last period of consolidation we saw that led to another leg up overnight. That is still a possibility. Swing traders and traders that are looking a bit longer term are using the 4-hour higher low pattern, and as long as it's intact, they're holding on to their positions. The RSI is not too overbought on this time frame, and we zoom in on the hourly. This consolidation looks pretty healthy to me. We're holding exponential supports. We're not seeing a bear cross of those levels. When we do see a bear break, it's met with bull buying and a lower wick, and that's happened now on both these periods of consolidation. Bear break met with buying of the dip and a long lower wick and continuation. So we'll see if the bulls can keep that pattern up. They are certainly still in control at this point. I am still riding my ETH swing. I did take a small amount of profit again on this new leg up just to ensure that if we do pull back, I sold some in the low 620s to ensure that I lock in a little bit of profit, and then I leave the rest of the position as long as 4-hour higher lows are maintained. So clear bullish reversal candlestick on the weekly. Again, volume, nothing to write home about, but that is anticipated. The daily time frame, same thing, higher lows every single day now for 6 days in a row. We broke the lower high on the daily. The last bounce attempt was 616. And looking at Bitcoin on the daily time frame, we also broke a similar resistance. That resistance was 7,735. So we have broken some key levels. It doesn't mean we're going to break out and see a huge move once we get over them, because we are a bit extended already from the low of this bounce to where we are now. So again, that daily higher low is now very likely to form because we are this much further from the low of the bounce. So 2 days ago, we were not as high. We still had the exponential resistance, and that was a scenario where it was, okay, if we start pulling back, we have to be watching close because we need that higher low. Now that we have such a significant bounce off of the lows, the higher low forming is very likely, and in order for the bears to take back over the short-term action, we would, in my opinion, have to see a higher low of consolidation, a lower high with the inability to see continuation, and then a lower low back to the low of the dump. So the bulls do have some time to work with and some space to work with now to attempt to establish that daily higher low. So for Ethereum on the 4-hour time frame, and again, right now the 4-hour time frame is where the most importance is on these names. For me personally, that's where it's the clearest. We had previous resistance now acting as some support. 586.81 is support after upper 580s acted as resistance 3 times, and the bulls are looking to establish 608 as another higher low to try and keep the bulls strong. And the bulls haven't had to be testing the exponential support. We're a little bit stronger than Bitcoin here on this chart, and we'll look at the comparative chart of the two in just a second. But not touching exponential support before another leg up, and a bigger leg up than we saw on Bitcoin overnight. So the RSI on the 4-hour time frame did hit 70, and it cooled off a little bit, but keep in mind that 4-hour RSI is high in the comparison to BTC. But this is a very interesting chart now because the weekly time frame looks like a bull flag. So rather than the equilibrium pattern with our high, low, lower high, and pulling back and anticipating a higher low in the low 6s, this is a very strong consolidation pattern, and it's the potential of a bull flag and continuation. And if we break 8581, that will be very bullish longer term for Ethereum comparative to Bitcoin, because that will essentially say, we're ready to head back up to our recent highs, and we only needed very brief consolidation. So the daily time frame has seen a significant bounce. And again, I've been highlighting how this chart is so similar the past 2 weeks to just the regular old ETH chart, where we saw a bounce attempt back at the end of May, and we have broken the high of that bounce attempt. ETH did the same thing. That's that 616 level, and the daily lower highs have broken. So there's one more level here that they want to break, clearly 8079, and we did break it by a little bit, but same thing. We now look for consolidation to form a daily higher low, and for that weekly time frame to remain bullish. So that's an interesting development for me on ETH BTC, because like I said, I did anticipate a little bit further consolidation, which would have made me more patient and hesitant to play ETH. But I'm still liking this pattern and this setup, and I will probably still play. Well, I still have an ETH position, obviously, but in terms of when I'm looking for my next entry, ETH will still be high on the priority list and probably number 1 as long as this weekly chart looks like this. BCH USD, this is on Coinbase. So the bounce here on the daily time frame is very significant. And just very roughly percentage-wise, Bitcoin went about 7,000 to 7,700s, so 10%. ETH went about 510 to 620s, which is over 20%, low 20s. So double the gains on ETH compared to Bitcoin. And here on BCH, the low of 872, we saw a significant move, $128, and actually more than that, way more than that. So ended up being over $300, and that's significant, and about 30+%. So significant move. Let's see this shift trick everybody keeps talking to me about. So shift percentage-wise, we're talking 35, 36%, and that is a handy tool that I should use more often. But I do like doing the numbers in my head to stay sharp. But 30%, very nice. So essentially it's acting, we've said this before, where BCH is essentially a leveraged ETF to Bitcoin. Essentially, that's what we got going on. It's more volatile in both directions. So it's higher risk, higher reward, but they have leveraged ETFs for the biotech sector, the tech sector, and anything you want to trade. Most things are developing leveraged ETFs, and this is essentially what we have here in the cryptocurrency space. So if you want more appetite for risk and reward, BCH is the name to be playing, and it does look like on these oversold bounces, BCH definitely deserves attention. I have had some issues with the liquidity of trading BCH, but when we get all-out dumps and bounces, the volume is usually enough that scaling in and out is certainly possible. Increasing bull volume does stand out as well. That's a good sign the last couple of days. And it's the same thing. When we consolidate, we will establish a daily higher low and see if the bulls can get continuation. Weekly chart, big bullish reversal candlestick. And now it's just a question of, are we going to set a lower high on the weekly, or are the bulls going to make their way back to 1,844 as a resistance level? 4-hour higher lows on BCH. Last support is 1063. And now the bulls are trying to hold 1133, and we're forming an inside bar on this 4-hour time frame to be watching. RSI got above 70, so even more extended. It's almost like just a 1, 2, 3 order. Bitcoin 4-hour RSI is in the 60s, Ethereum hit 70, and BCH hit the upper 70s. And the percent gains in the bounce reflect that as well. So bulls still strong here. No red flags on the 4-hour time frames for any of these names on their trends. They're just seeing healthy consolidation at this point. NEO USD on the weekly time frame also has a higher low established. So we have our low, high of the bounce, higher low just barely, but that support is now 47.45, and anything under 94.65 will just be a lower high on this tightening weekly pattern. Volume dropping off here as well as the pattern tightens. The daily chart needs to change the trend. It's a potential bearish reversal doji right now. We have to be cautious. Whenever I see a bearish reversal candlestick on a certain time frame, I zoom in for more details and I look at the 4-hour chart and say, we did lose the higher low pattern here. Not by a lot. The bulls did save it, but that initial break is a red flag that says, okay, we may be in for some consolidation. If we lose the 4-hour higher low pattern, again, that's when we look for the daily consolidation to begin. Last time it happened on Bitcoin, we didn't get any follow through, but just as a rule of thumb, that's what we look for. More often than not, whatever percentage of the time, certainly more favorable than not, when we lose the 4-hour higher low pattern, daily consolidation is coming. So keeping a close eye on 55.57. If that level is lost, I'm looking down at 53.39 as the next little support level. And the bulls are trying to hold these exponential supports, and they're still doing so at this point. If we break this support level again, then we will be losing those exponential supports. So on the daily chart, we did break the lower high pattern, so we are going to anticipate a higher low to form, and we'll see if the bulls can get over these exponential resistances with a higher low and higher high. Same thing as we're looking for on Bitcoin, and just a little bit weaker in comparison. So interesting for NEO. IoT USD, and these are mostly on Bitfinex. Some of them are going to be on Binance, and BNB and EOS will be on Binance. So IoT USD, weekly time frame, higher low has been established. Make sure your magnets are on. We have our low, high of the bounce, higher low, and we're not too far off from breaking to a higher high, closer than most names here. 133 is the low, resistance is 270, and the bulls are about 90 cents away from that resistance. So that is actually pretty significant just in terms of this being, a much smaller price here, much lower market cap. 180 is that price. So 90 cents, we still need a 50% move to get up to that last resistance. But the daily time frame, significant bounce, breaking the lower highs, and again, consolidation starting. So it's starting on these altcoins before it is starting on the major big three, and we'll see if that's a lead indication. And like we've said in recent videos, we have members watching things. We've been getting some clues on IoT before Bitcoin, very briefly before, and EOS as well. So they're just some nice little clues to be watching, and we're going to start looking to develop a tool in terms of being able to monitor these altcoins and watch for comparisons with each other and with Bitcoin, and just a way to visually easily monitor all these altcoins and get some insight as, who should I be monitoring, who's leading the space, and things like that. So looking forward to developing another potential useful tool over the coming couple of months. The 4-hour time frame for IoT, we have lost the higher low pattern, big volume showing profit taking. So a bearish reversal 4-hour candlestick, and then a big dump pulling back. There was a nice bounce there. And as we know, the first conditions hitting oversold from a bull move definitely see some solid bounces. The 15-minute RSI, when it was at its low, was all the way down under 20. The 5-minute RSI made it all the way down to 20 as well. And when that was at its low, was probably pushing single digits. And the hourly RSI dropped down. And when it was at the low of this candlestick, was down in the 20s. So after a bull move with multiple days in a row in control, having the 5-minute, 15-minute, and hourly, all that oversold out of nowhere just from profit taking. And if you double check and make sure there's no news, because if there's news, it can be more extended. But with there being no news, that's a scenario to buy and look for a quick flip, a short-term flip. So we ended up bouncing from 174 and got all the way up to 183, which again, not huge gains, but if you could lock in a couple percent, that is nice. Inside bar is currently forming on the hourly, and we should see a break of a tightening range and say, are we heading back down to test our low, or are the bulls going to see continued recovery from where we stand right now? So that'll probably give us some more clear signs on this hourly inside bar breaking within an hour or so. But IoT seeing some profit taking does lead to people being a little bit more protective in their other positions and saying, okay, IoT was leading on the way up in terms of strength of the move and nice follow through. And now that we're seeing profit taking there, are we going to start seeing that profit taking trickle into the other bigger names? And always worth watching correlations. They're always shifting. There's always clues that we can find. And this might be one of them. EOS USDT, nice perfect equilibrium on the 4-hour time frame. We don't have a whole lot of data here after being previously or recently listed. And we are looking at a clear equilibrium. We have our high, low of the pullback is on the same candlestick. Then we have the lower high, higher low, and here we are in this tightening range. So the equilibrium range right now is 1425 up to 1545. There's a lot of space within there. We could trade within there for another 12 hours or so. Going to be watching the healthy consolidation on Bitcoin. If we break bullish on Bitcoin, we will be looking for EOS to head back up towards the 1530 resistance, 1545 to be exact. So tightening, healthy consolidation at this point. No red flags. Hourly chart trying to hold on to exponential supports, but losing them a little bit. 4-hour chart still holding strong as those exponential moving averages catch up. And the daily chart, again, we don't have a whole lot of information. We know the bulls are in control, and you definitely want to be looking at EOS USD to get that more information. Look at it on Bitfinex, and we can see the clear, healthy consolidation. Bulls indicating they are done consolidating. We had this tightening pattern we went over 2 days ago in the video, and it's a very clear bull break. The daily inside bar, that alert would have gone off at 1234 for that bull break. Significant follow through, and now another daily inside bar is forming to be keeping an eye on. So just looking at this chart, it's very bullish overall. The weekly low of consolidation is in, and we're now seeing if the bulls can make their way back up towards that all-time high. Definitely one of the stronger charts out there in terms of proximity to that all-time high and lack of resistance comparatively. ONT BTC, higher low on the weekly has been established, and we saw some healthy consolidation, and the bulls heading back up towards the upside, and the all-time high up here at 1246. Not a whole lot of price history here as well, but certainly a very bullish chart. Look at the volume, low bear volume on consolidation, spike in bull volume when they show back up. Daily, very flat and a clear break. You can see the flat volume. Again, this is what we're seeing on the Bitcoin weekly chart. Normal equilibrium pattern, tightening range, volume dropping off, break of the tightening range, volume picks up again. So people are getting excited over this bull move the last week in Bitcoin and all these names, as they should be. And just wait. When we get this break of this equilibrium pattern, whatever direction it's in, we're going to get a lot of volume and a lot of volatility and a lot of trading opportunity for the next few weeks, maybe even the next few months. So that's what I'm getting excited for. But a clear bull break, breaking the lower highs. This was the first signal where we saw a significant move up. Breaking 9178 was the first break of the lower highs. That happened on this candlestick. We formed a daily inside bar. Daily inside bar bull break was 9124, and then we just saw continuation. And in terms of resistance now, after 10806, we've got 10971, and then the all-time high are the only two resistances here. So this is another very bullish chart, certainly up there with EOS in terms of its strength, and we don't have many resistance levels to be watching. Daily support, anything above 7815, anything above this level will be a higher low on the daily. So the bulls are definitely in the driver's seat right now on ONT BTC. ICX BTC. So this is a little bit more of a tricky pattern just because we have this little higher low and higher high mixed in there. But if we all consider that all one bull move, we are still looking at a similar pattern to most other names where we have our low, high of the bounce, and now we're looking for the higher low. So I'm only disregarding this little, there's definitely still a support level in there, and there is a higher low forming comparative to it, but I'm ignoring that a little bit just because the setup of everybody else has just this one bull move, and it's a little bit different, but when I'm trying to compare it to everybody else, I want to visually imagine that same kind of setup. So 3059 is support, 5249 is resistance. Lots of space within this range that we can bounce around within. The daily chart set its top, and it's now been consolidating in a healthy way, but its top was set sooner than most other individual names. So most other individual names are setting their tops yesterday or today. This was 4 days ago. So starting to see a little bit more weakness, rejecting from exponential resistances on the daily still. We will still look for a higher low compared to 3059, but not as much strength with only 3 bounce days compared to other names that are having 5 or 6 bounce days. So short-term support, the base here on the 4-hour time frame. If this breaks, we're going to be looking at more significant consolidation. You can see high, low, lower high, and now a higher low. So tightening 4-hour pattern is forming. So let's say support is 3567, 3549, and resistance is 375 and 378. So 2 resistances near each other, 2 supports near each other, and a sideways channel to be watching in the short term as the bulls try and maintain their 4-hour exponential moving average supports. This is one of the weaker bounces that we've seen on the daily charts. Keeping in mind that other names we're watching here, we're looking at USD pairings and we're looking at BTC pairings. And again, that's just based on the votes and what people want to see charted. So I deliver what the highest votes are. Checking in on BNB USDT, also still seeing the bulls in control, the weekly time frame establishing yet another higher low, and we knew that was very likely considering the last higher low was down at 706, and now we have another one trying to form at 1161. Bulls need to see a break of 1628 for continuation. We've been trading within this tight channel now, this range, 3, 6, 8 weeks, so 2 months within this range, and the bulls are getting closer to a bull break than a bear break, but still a lot of work to do. We're still roughly in the middle. And let's see this handy dandy shift button putting us right around, let's see the whole range. So we are right around the middle there. And we're going to be looking for a break of this range. And again, because it's so drawn out and this is on such a longer term time frame, 2 months in this channel, it's not going to break anytime soon, in my opinion. So if I were not in a position on BNB, the bulls in positions are very comfortable. But if I was not in a position, I would either be entering on consolidation and using this baseline of support as my stop level, or I would just patiently wait another few weeks, another couple months maybe, probably not a couple months, another few weeks until we break this channel. And I would use that as my trade signal. Because right now, we can be very choppy while we are within this channel. We saw a big bull move and a rejection all the way back down to support. Now a lower high. Let's see if we pull back and form a higher low and a tightening daily range. But this has a setup for less volatility than most of the other names because we've been within a defined range for so long. So the 4-hour time frame, I wouldn't even be looking at these time frames unless I was in a shorter term trade already. XRP USD weekly time frame. Same setup to Bitcoin where we have our low, high of the bounce, higher low. So new support is 544 on the weekly time frame. And we're going to see if the bulls can break resistance or if we set a lower high. Again, the most likely scenario on all these weekly charts is a lower high in my opinion. And I'm expecting Bitcoin to do the same compared to 10,000 and stay in a tightening pattern through June. Again, I do believe news could change that. Absolutely. But without news, I do think we have another month of consolidation at least. So the daily time frame broke the lower highs. We're still on the same bull move with 5 higher lows in a row on the daily time frame. And it's just whether or not the 4-hour time frame is topping out. And right now it's not. It's still in a bullish uptrend with support of 636 as the last base. And now the bulls are trying to form a higher low at 6511. And the bulls are still in complete control. Similar to ETH, we're not testing the exponential supports, not consolidating all the way to test those levels. Nice increasing bull volume. The RSI did break above 70, so RSI got a little bit higher than ETH. I would say that right now, Ripple, if I were just comparing in strength, it goes Bitcoin with the weakest bounce and the lowest 4-hour RSI. Then we've got Ethereum, Ripple, and then BCH, if I were just comparing those 4 names, because they stick out the most in my head from going over the charts like we just did. So that's where we stand on everybody. Bulls still just fine. If we lose the 4-hour higher lows overnight, no big red flags. Only people in shorter term positions are exiting. I'm going to be exiting to lock in my position on ETH if that does happen, and then start from scratch with cash. And I'm probably going to trade conservatively for the next month or however long we're in this weekly equilibrium pattern. Like everybody else, I keep saying, newer traders, hold off and wait for this break. I'm going to slow down, maybe not necessarily hold off, but I'm going to slow way down and wait for this break as well. And when that break comes, I'm going to be very aggressive and probably playing all in positions. And that's essentially what my trading style has been for 8 years, ever since I started, is when there's high volume opportunity and a lot of emotion, a lot of FOMO and hype, with USMJ in 2013-14, Canadian MJ 2016-17, crypto 2017. I smashed those opportunities with a lot of aggressive action, a lot of trading, a lot of time devoted to trading. And then when things slow down, I am a lot more conservative. I'm not going all in. I'm paying attention less, which is still a lot more than normal people, but not, waking up every 2 hours to trade. And it's just a cycle of knowing when to put your foot on the gas pedal and knowing when to tap on the brakes. And the time is approaching to put your foot on the gas pedal in one direction or the other, but we're not there just yet. That's all we got for this lovely Sunday. I hope you are enjoying it with some family or friends or perhaps yourself, which can be just as enjoyable in many situations. Today's do good thing was easy. It was a softball from the universe, where just leaving the beach, there was an older gentleman with a huge thing he was lugging along that had all the chairs and the umbrella and all that. And the sand was 1,000,000 degrees and he had a long way to go. So just helped him tug his thing over to the stairs and helped it up the stairs. And he was pretty beat up at the end of it. Said he just came out of the hospital and they opened up his whole carotid artery and a whole bunch of wow stuff. But he was there enjoying the beach and enjoying life while he still has it, and was happy to help him. So I appreciate you all. Thanks for the likes and the shares, and we'll see you tomorrow.